Blue, the female adult velociraptor from Jurassic World, found herself all alone in the dense jungle as she aimlessly moved around, calling out for her velociraptor sisters, Charlie, Echo, and Delta. She searched tirelessly, but to no avail. The sun slowly began to set, casting an orange glow over the trees as nightfall approached. As the darkness enveloped the jungle, Blue's desperation grew. She continued to search for her sisters, her calls becoming more frantic with each passing moment. Suddenly, she stumbled upon the tail of a massive Spinosaurus, which immediately began to chase her through the dense foliage. Blue used her speed and agility to outmaneuver the predator, eventually finding a hiding spot behind a large rock. As the Spinosaurus searched for her, Blue remained out of sight, her heart pounding in her chest. Finally, the predator gave up and walked away, leaving Blue trembling with fear and exhaustion. She emerged from her hiding place, her eyes filled with tears as she realized the gravity of her situation. Heartbroken and alone, Blue lay on the ground, clutching her own tail in despair. She sobbed heavily, her reptilian eyes shimmering with tears as she lamented the loss of her sisters. She called out for them once more, but there was no response. Her sisters were gone, leaving her to face the harsh reality of being alone in the unforgiving jungle. As Blue grappled with her emotions, she made her way to an abandoned hangar nearby. With a heavy heart, she pushed open the door with her clawed arms and entered the dimly lit space. It was there that she encountered Owen, the man who had once been her caretaker and friend. Without hesitation, Blue dashed towards Owen and embraced him tightly, seeking solace in his presence. She cried and sobbed, her anguish pouring out as she clung to him for comfort. Owen, sensing her pain, wrapped his arms around her, offering a source of warmth and reassurance in the darkness of the night. As they settled down to rest in the hangar, Blue felt a sense of peace wash over her. Despite the heartache of losing her sisters, she knew that she was not truly alone as long as she had Owen by her side. And with that realization, she drifted off to sleep, the weight of her sorrow easing slightly in the embrace of her friend. The night passed peacefully, with the sounds of the jungle fading into the distance. Blue dreamt of her sisters, of running through the forest together and calling out to each other in joyous reunion. And though she knew that they were gone, she held on to the memory of their bond, cherishing it as a precious gift in the midst of her solitude. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, Blue awoke to find Owen still beside her, his presence a comforting presence in the early morning light. With a renewed sense of determination, she rose to her feet, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Though the pain of losing her sisters would always linger, Blue knew that she was not defined by her past. She was a survivor, a fighter, a velociraptor with a fierce spirit that could not be quenched by tragedy. And as she stepped out into the jungle once more, her eyes shining with determination, she vowed to never give up hope of finding her sisters again. For in the vast expanse of the jungle, anything was possible, even a miracle of reunion and redemption. Words. 591. Blue, calling out Charlie. Echo. Delta. Where are you guys? Blue continued to move through the jungle, her heart pounding with worry as she searched for her missing sisters. However, as the sun began to set, there was still no sign of them. Blue, frantic please, where are you? I need you. Suddenly, Blue heard a loud roar behind her and turned to see the massive form of the Spinosaurus looming over her. With a shriek, she bolted, using her speed and agility to dodge the predator's snapping jaws. She ducked behind a large rock, her breath coming in sharp gasps as she waited for the Spinosaurus to give up the chase. Eventually, the massive dinosaur turned away, searching for easier prey, and Blue let out a trembling sigh of relief. But as the night fell and Blue continued her fruitless search, the weight of her loneliness and fear began to crush her spirit. She collapsed to the ground, her body racked with sobs as tears streamed from her reptilian eyes. Blue, heartbroken, why did you leave me, sisters? Where are you? She curled up in a ball, clutching her own tail in her jaws as she cried in despair. The sound of her agony echoed through the empty jungle, a haunting lament for her lost companions. As the night wore on, Blue's cries caught the attention of Owen, who had been searching for her. He found her at the entrance of an abandoned hangar, her blue scales dull with grief. Owen, softly Blue, it's okay. I'm here. Blue turned to him with wide, tear-filled eyes, and without a word, she launched herself at him, wrapping her arms around him in a desperate hug. Blue, sobbing, Owen, they're gone. My sisters are gone. Owen held her close, his heart breaking at the sight of her pain. He stroked her scales soothingly, offering her comfort and reassurance. Owen, gentle, I'm here for you, Blue. You're not alone. Blue clung to him, her cries gradually subsiding as she found solace in his presence. Eventually, as exhaustion overtook her, they settled down in the shelter of the hangar, Blue nestling against Owen for warmth and security. As the first light of dawn peeked over the horizon, Blue stirred from her fitful sleep, her heart heavy with the knowledge that her sisters were truly gone. But with Owen's steady presence beside her, she found the strength to face the uncertain future ahead. Blue, firmly, I won't give up. I'll keep searching. For them, and for myself. And with Owen by her side, Blue set out once more into the jungle, determined to find a new path forward, no matter how daunting the journey may be. Words. 451. Blue, the female adult velociraptor from Jurassic World, found herself all alone in the dense jungle as she desperately searched for her velociraptor sisters, Charlie, Echo, and Delta. She called out for them, but there was no response. As the day turned into night, Blue continued her search, refusing to give up hope of finding her sisters. As she roamed the jungle, Blue accidentally stumbled upon the massive tail of the infamous Spinosaurus. The Spinosaurus immediately started to chase her, its thunderous footsteps echoing through the night. Blue used her speed and agility to evade the massive predator, eventually finding refuge behind a large rock. As the Spinosaurus searched for her, Blue remained hidden, her heart pounding in her chest. After what felt like an eternity, the Spinosaurus gave up the search and lumbered away into the darkness. Blue emerged from her hiding spot, shaken but unharmed. Feeling utterly heartbroken and alone, Blue collapsed onto the ground, her reptilian eyes brimming with tears. She curled up, clutching her tail with her jaws, and sobbed uncontrollably. The pain of losing her sisters was too much to bear, and she felt a deep sense of loneliness wash over her. Desperate for any sign of her sisters, Blue let out a mournful cry into the night, but there was no response. She had searched every corner of the jungle, but her sisters were nowhere to be found. With a heavy heart, she realized that they were gone, forever. Feeling defeated and devastated, Blue mustered the strength to open the door of a nearby hangar, seeking solace in the familiarity of the space. Inside, she stumbled upon Owen, her former trainer and friend. Without hesitation, she dashed towards him and threw her arms around him, seeking comfort in his presence. Owen, sensing Blue's grief, embraced her and held her close as she continued to sob and cry. Despite his efforts to console her, Blue's heartache was palpable, and she clung to him tightly, her sorrow overwhelming her. As they settled down for the night in the hangar, Blue let go of her search for her sisters. She knew deep down that they were gone, and the realization weighed heavily on her soul. She sniffed, sobbed, and cried, the pain of losing her family lingering in the air. In the darkness of the night, Blue lay curled up next to Owen, finding a sliver of comfort in his presence. Although her heart was shattered, she knew that she was not truly alone, for Owen was there to offer her support and companionship in her time of need. As the night stretched on, Blue's sobs eventually subsided, and she drifted off into a troubled sleep, haunted by the memories of her lost sisters. The jungle echoed with the sounds of her sorrow, a mournful symphony that spoke of the deep bond she shared with her velociraptor siblings, a bond that could never be broken, even in death. And so, Blue lay in the hangar, her heart heavy with grief, her soul torn asunder by the loss of her sisters. But through it all, she found solace in the presence of Owen, who stood by her side as a beacon of light in the darkness, offering her comfort and hope in the face of overwhelming sorrow. Words. 553. Blue, the female adult velociraptor from Jurassic World, found herself all alone as she aimlessly wandered through the dense jungle in search of her velociraptor sisters Charlie, Echo, and Delta. She called out for them, but there was no response. As the sun began to set and darkness fell upon the jungle, Blue continued her relentless search for her sisters, determined to find them. As the night grew darker, Blue's search led her to a secluded area where she accidentally stumbled upon the tail of the fearsome Spinosaurus. The massive predator immediately began to chase Blue, who relied on her speed and agility to evade the towering beast. She managed to hide behind a large rock, holding her breath as the Spinosaurus searched for her before eventually giving up and walking away. Exhausted and emotionally drained, Blue collapsed on the ground, tears streaming from her reptilian eyes. She curled up in a ball, grasping her own tail with her jaws as she sobbed uncontrollably. The realization that her sisters were gone hit her hard, and she felt a deep sense of loss and loneliness. Feeling defeated, Blue let out a mournful call, but there was still no response from her missing sisters. She dragged herself to a nearby hangar, using her clawed arms to push open the door. Inside, she encountered Owen, a familiar face who had always been there for her. Without hesitation, Blue rushed towards Owen and embraced him, seeking solace in his presence. As she cried and sobbed, Owen held her close, offering comfort and support. Blue's heart was heavy with grief as she came to terms with the fact that her sisters were permanently gone, leaving her bereft and alone. As they settled down for the night in the safety of the hangar, Blue struggled to let go of her search for her sisters. The pain of their absence weighed heavily on her, and she continued to sniffle and cry, mourning the loss of her beloved velociraptor teammates and the family she once had. In her moments of vulnerability, Blue also mourned the loss of her velociraptor mother and daughter, reminiscing on happier times when they were all together as a family. The pain of their absence only added to the burden of grief she carried in her heart. Through it all, Owen remained by Blue's side, offering her the comfort and reassurance she needed to begin healing from the devastating loss she had experienced. As she slowly drifted off to sleep, still clinging to Owen for support, Blue knew that even in her darkest moments, she was not truly alone. The bond between them grew stronger as they faced the night together, united in their shared grief and the hope for a brighter tomorrow. And as the jungle fell silent around them, Blue found a sliver of peace in Owen's reassuring presence, knowing that she was not completely alone in the world. Words. 487. Blue, frantically calling out Charlie. Echo. Delta. Where are you? Blue continued to search for her velociraptor sisters, determined to find them no matter what. As she moved through the dense jungle, her heart raced with worry and fear. Blue, to herself, they have to be here somewhere. I can't lose them. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the jungle, Blue's desperation grew. She called out again and again, hoping for a response, but none came. Suddenly, Blue stumbled upon the massive tail of the fearsome Spinosaurus. Her eyes widened in terror as the predator turned and began to chase her through the forest. Blue, panting, I have to hide. I have to survive. Using her speed and agility, Blue darted between trees and rocks, doing everything she could to evade the Spinosaurus. Finally, she found a hiding spot behind a large boulder and waited, holding her breath as the predator searched for her. After what felt like an eternity, the Spinosaurus gave up and moved on, leaving Blue trembling with fear. She slowly emerged from her hiding spot, her heart pounding in her chest. Blue whispers to herself, I have to find my sisters. I have to keep searching. But as the night fell, Blue's hope began to fade. She realized that her sisters were gone, lost to her forever. The realization hit her like a ton of bricks, and she collapsed to the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. Blue, crying, why? Why did you leave me? Her reptilian eyes glistened with tears as she curled up on the ground, clutching her own tail in a tight grip. The pain of abandonment washed over her, leaving her feeling utterly alone in the world. Blue, sobbing, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep searching. With a heavy heart, Blue made her way to the abandoned hangar that had once been her home. She pushed open the door with her clawed arms, the creaking sound echoing in the empty space. Inside, she found Owen, the human who had once been her caretaker. Without a second thought, Blue flung herself at him, burying her face in his chest as she cried. Owen, softly, it's okay, Blue. I'm here. I'll take care of you. Blue clung to Owen, seeking comfort in his presence as she mourned the loss of her sisters. The night passed slowly, with Blue finally succumbing to exhaustion and falling asleep in Owen's arms. As the sun rose on a new day, Blue awoke to a sense of peace. Though her heart still ached for her lost sisters, she knew that she was not truly alone as long as Owen was by her side. Blue whispers, thank you, Owen. Thank you for being here. With Owen's support, Blue slowly began to heal from the wounds of her past. Though she would never forget her sisters, she found solace in the bond she shared with the human who had become her friend and protector. Together, they faced the challenges of the jungle, standing side by side against whatever dangers came their way. And though Blue still carried the pain of her past, she knew that she was strong enough to face whatever the future held. And as they walked into the sunrise, a new sense of determination filled Blue's heart. She may have lost her sisters, but she had found a new family in Owen, and together, they would conquer the wild world around them. Blue, calling out Charlie. Echo. Delta. Blue, frantically searching, where are you guys? Blue, starting to panic, I can't find them anywhere. Spinosaurus, roaring in the distance. Blue, gasping in fear, oh no, a Spinosaurus. Blue, running for her life, I have to hide. Spinosaurus, sniffing around, where did she go? Blue, breathing heavily, that was too close. Blue, curling up in despair, I can't do this anymore. Blue, crying uncontrollably, why did they leave me? Owen, approaching Blue, what's wrong? Blue, hugging Owen, they're gone, Owen. My sisters are gone. Owen, comforting her, I'm so sorry, Blue. Blue, sobbing, I can't believe they're never coming back. Owen, patting her gently, it's okay, Blue. I'm here for you. Blue, sniffling, thank you, Owen. Owen, lying down beside her, let's get some rest, okay. Blue, nodding, okay. Blue, falling asleep, good night, Owen. Owen, whispering good night, Blue. The next morning, Blue woke up feeling a sense of renewal. She knew she had to move on from the loss of her sisters and find a new purpose in life. With Owen by her side, she set out to explore the jungle and discover new adventures. As they journeyed through the dense vegetation, they encountered all sorts of challenges, from dangerous predators to treacherous terrain. But Blue was determined to face them head-on, knowing that she had Owen to rely on. Along the way, they stumbled upon an abandoned research facility where they uncovered a hidden secret that would change their lives forever. They discovered a group of genetically modified dinosaurs, created by rogue scientists who were experimenting with DNA manipulation. Blue and Owen were shocked by this discovery, but they knew they had to stop the scientists from creating more dangerous creatures. With their combined skills and bravery, they infiltrated the facility and destroyed the experiments, saving the jungle from potential destruction. As they emerged victorious from the wreckage, Blue felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. She knew that she had found a new purpose in life, to protect the natural world and all its inhabitants, no matter the cost. And so, Blue and Owen continued their journey through the jungle, facing new challenges and adventures together. With their bond stronger than ever, they knew that they could overcome anything that came their way. And as they entered the sunset, with the sky painted in hues of orange and pink, Blue looked up at Owen with a grateful smile. She knew that no matter what the future held, she would always have a loyal companion by her side. And so, the story of Blue the velociraptor and Owen the human ended not with tragedy, but with hope and resilience. Together, they would continue to explore the wonders of the jungle, forging a friendship that would last a lifetime. Words, 468. Blue, the female adult velociraptor from Jurassic World, found herself all alone in the jungle. She had been separated from her velociraptor sisters, Charlie, Echo, and Delta, and was consumed by an overwhelming sense of loss and desperation to find them. Frantically searching every nook and cranny of the jungle, Blue called out for her sisters, hoping for any sign of a response. But as the sun started to set below the horizon, her calls went unanswered. The darkness of night began to descend, casting a shadow over Blue's heart as she continued her search with growing desperation. Suddenly, Blue stumbled upon the tail of the fearsome Spinosaurus, who immediately gave chase. Using her speed and agility, Blue managed to evade the massive predator and hide behind a rock, holding her breath as the Spinosaurus searched for her. After the Spinosaurus finally gave up and moved away, Blue emerged from her hiding spot, her heart heavy with a sense of loneliness and despair. Collapsing to the ground, she sobbed uncontrollably, her reptilian eyes emitting tears as she curled up in a ball, clutching her own tail in a futile attempt to comfort herself. Feeling completely defeated and heartbroken, Blue let out a mournful cry for her sisters but received no response. The realization that her sisters were gone, perhaps forever, weighed heavily on her soul as she lay in the darkness of the night, mourning their loss. In her grief, Blue stumbled upon an abandoned hangar and managed to open the door with her clawed arms. Inside, she found Owen, the human who had once cared for her and her sisters. Without hesitation, Blue rushed toward Owen and embraced him, seeking comfort in his presence as she continued to cry and mourn the loss of her family. Owen, understanding the depth of Blue's pain, gently comforted her as she sobbed, offering her solace in the darkness of the night. Together, they settled down to rest in the hangar, with Blue clinging to Owen for support as she continued to grieve the loss of her sisters and the emptiness that now filled her heart. As the night wore on, Blue slowly let go of her desperate search for her sisters, accepting the harsh reality that they were gone. The weight of her sorrow remained heavy upon her, but with Owen by her side, she found a sliver of comfort in the midst of her grief. In the quiet stillness of the night, Blue continued to sniffle and cry, her heart aching for the family she had lost. And as she drifted into a fitful sleep, she carried with her the memories of her beloved sisters, forever imprinted in her heart. Despite the pain of their absence, Blue found a glimmer of hope in the bonds of friendship that remained, offering her a sense of solace in the midst of her sorrow. And as the first light of dawn broke through the darkness, Blue knew that she would always carry the love of her sisters with her, guiding her through the challenges that lay ahead. Words. 513. Blue, calling out Charlie. Echo. Delta. Where are you? Blue wandered through the dense jungle, desperately searching for her sisters. But no matter how hard she looked, there was no sign of them. Blue, frustrated, where could they be? They wouldn't just leave me behind. As the sun began to set, Blue's anxiety grew. She continued to call out for her sisters, but there was only silence in return. Suddenly, Blue stumbled upon the tail of a massive Spinosaurus. The fearsome creature roared and began to chase her through the jungle. Blue used her speed and agility to evade the dinosaur, eventually finding refuge behind a large rock. Spinosaurus sniffed around, searching for Blue, but she remained hidden until the creature gave up and walked away. Exhausted and fearful, Blue emerged from her hiding spot. Blue, heartbroken, why did they leave me? Where are you, Charlie? Echo. Delta. Unable to find her sisters, Blue collapsed onto the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. Her reptilian eyes glistened with tears as she curled up in a ball, clutching her own tail in anguish. Just then, Blue spotted a familiar figure approaching. It was Owen, the man who had once cared for her as a velociraptor. Blue dashed towards Owen and embraced him, sobbing into his shoulder. Owen held her tightly, trying to comfort her as she grieved the loss of her sisters. Owen, softly, it's okay, Blue. I'm here for you. You're not alone. Blue cries, but they're gone, Owen. They're all gone. As night fell, Owen led Blue into a nearby hangar, where they decided to rest for the night. Blue lay down, still sniffling and crying as she mourned the absence of her beloved sisters. Owen, gentle, it's going to be okay, Blue. We'll figure this out together. Despite Owen's reassurance, Blue couldn't shake the deep sadness that had settled over her. She curled up beside him, seeking comfort and solace in his presence. As she drifted off to sleep, Blue silently vowed to never give up on finding her sisters. But for now, she allowed herself to grieve and heal in the company of her loyal friend. And so, in the darkness of the night, amidst the echoes of the jungle, Blue and Owen found solace in each other's company, united in their shared pain and determination to overcome the challenges that lay ahead. Words. 393. As Blue lay curled up on the ground, sobbing and crying, Owen gently stroked her head and spoke softly to her, it's okay, Blue. I know you miss your sisters, but we'll find them. We won't give up until we do. Blue looked up at Owen, her eyes filled with sadness and despair. But Owen, what if they're gone forever? What if I never see them again? She whimpered. Owen sighed, feeling the weight of Blue's pain. We can't lose hope, Blue. We'll keep searching, no matter what. We're a team, remember? We'll stick together through anything. Blue nodded, wiping her tears with her clawed hand. You're right, Owen. Thank you for being here for me, she said, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. As they settled down for the night in the hangar, Blue whispered, I'll never forget them, Owen. They were my family. Owen placed a comforting arm around Blue. I know, Blue. They were special to you, but you're not alone. We'll find a way to bring them back, I promise. The next morning, Blue and Owen set out to continue their search for Blue's sisters. As they traversed through the jungle, they encountered various dangers, from stampeding dinosaurs to treacherous terrain. But through it all, Blue remained determined to find her sisters. As they ventured deeper into the jungle, they stumbled upon a mysterious cave, shrouded in darkness. Blue hesitated, unsure if she should enter, but Owen reassured her, we have to keep going, Blue. Your sisters could be in there. With a deep breath, Blue entered the cave, her senses on high alert. The darkness enveloped them, and eerie whispers echoed off the walls. But Blue pressed on, her determination unwavering. Suddenly, they heard a familiar screech in the distance. Blue's heart raced as she recognized the call of her sister, Delta. Without hesitation, she sprinted towards the sound, Owen following closely behind. As they emerged from the cave, they saw Delta standing before them, her eyes filled with relief and joy. Blue rushed to her sister, embracing her tightly as tears welled up in her eyes. I thought I lost you, Delta, Blue whispered, her voice filled with emotion. Delta nuzzled her sister affectionately. I'll never leave you, Blue. We're a pack, remember? We stick together no matter what. Owen watched the touching reunion, a smile playing on his lips. I knew we'd find them, Blue. Your sisters are back where they belong, with you. As the sun began to set, Blue, Delta, Owen, and the rest of the velociraptor pack returned to their hangar, united once more. Blue gazed at her sisters, her heart full of gratitude and love. Thank you, Owen. Thank you for never giving up on me, Blue said, her eyes shimmering with tears of joy. Owen placed a hand on Blue's shoulder. You're welcome, Blue. You're not alone anymore. We'll always be here for you, no matter what. And as the stars twinkled in the night sky, Blue knew that she would never have to search for her sisters again. They were home, safe and sound, by her side forevermore. And with that, the chapter of sorrow and loss came to a close, replaced by a new chapter of hope and unity. Words, 545. Blue, Charlie. Echo. Delta. Where are you? Please, answer me. Blue continued to move through the dense jungle, desperately calling out for her sisters. Blue, I can't give up. I have to find them. As the sun started to set, Blue's sense of urgency grew. She knew that the jungle could be a dangerous place at night, especially without her sisters by her side. Suddenly, Blue stumbled upon the tail of the massive Spinosaurus. She gasped in fear as the aggressive predator turned to face her, its eyes filled with hunger. Blue sprinted away, using her speed and agility to outmaneuver the Spinosaurus. She managed to find a hiding spot behind a rock, praying that the predator wouldn't find her. After what felt like an eternity, the Spinosaurus gave up and walked away. Blue emerged from her hiding spot, but her relief was short-lived. The reality of her situation hit her hard. She was alone, without her sisters to protect her. The weight of her loneliness and fear crashed down on her, and she collapsed to the ground in tears. Blue, sobbing, why did you leave me, Charlie? Echo. Delta. I need you. Her reptilian eyes overflowed with tears as she curled up on the ground, clutching her own tail in a desperate attempt to soothe her heartache. As the night settled in, Blue's cries echoed through the jungle. She felt abandoned and lost, with no one to comfort her in her grief. In a last-ditch effort to find her sisters, Blue mustered up the strength to open the door of an abandoned hangar nearby. Inside, she found Owen, the human who had once been her ally. Blue rushed towards him, seeking comfort in his presence. Owen wrapped his arms around her, offering a silent embrace as she continued to cry. Owen, it's okay, Blue. I'm here for you. Blue clung to him, the warmth of his touch easing some of her pain. She knew that she had to accept the harsh reality that her sisters were gone, but it was a bitter pill to swallow. As the night wore on, Blue and Owen settled down to rest in the hangar. Blue's sobs eventually quieted, but the ache in her heart remained. She had lost everything, her sisters, her family, her sense of belonging. But in Owen's arms, she found a glimmer of hope that she wouldn't have to face her loneliness alone. As the first light of dawn crept through the windows of the hangar, Blue stirred from her restless sleep. She knew that her journey was far from over, but with Owen by her side, she felt a newfound sense of courage to face the challenges ahead. Blue, thank you, Owen. I may be alone, but I know I'm not truly alone as long as you're here. Owen smiled at her, a flicker of understanding and compassion in his eyes. Together, they would navigate the treacherous jungle, searching for a new purpose and a new path forward. And as they ventured out into the unknown, Blue held on to the hope that someday, she would find a new family, a family forged not by blood, but by love and loyalty. Words, 533. Blue, the female adult velociraptor from Jurassic World, found herself alone in the jungle as she desperately searched for her velociraptor sisters, Charlie, Echo, and Delta. She called out for them repeatedly, but there was no response. As the day turned to night, Blue's search became more frantic. Suddenly, Blue stumbled upon the tail of a menacing Spinosaurus. The giant creature began to chase her through the jungle, but Blue used her speed and agility to outmaneuver it. She eventually found refuge behind a large rock, hiding until the Spinosaurus gave up and wandered away. Exhausted and emotionally drained, Blue collapsed on the ground, curling up in a ball as tears streamed from her reptilian eyes. She sobbed uncontrollably, feeling heartbroken at the thought of never finding her sisters. She let out a mournful call, but there was still no sign of them. Feeling defeated, Blue made her way to an abandoned hangar, where she found Owen, the human who had once cared for her. Desperate for comfort, she hugged him tightly, crying into his shoulder. Owen tried to console her, but the pain of her loss was too much to bear. As they settled down to sleep in the hangar, Blue finally let go of her search for her sisters. She mourned their absence, as well as the loss of her parents and daughter. The weight of loneliness settled heavily on her as she continued to cry, mourning the family she had lost. With each tear shed, Blue felt the ache of abandonment and the longing for the bond she shared with her sisters. She was devastated by the emptiness that now consumed her, a void that could never be filled. Despite Owen's attempts to comfort her, Blue remained inconsolable. The loss of her family had left a wound in her heart that would never fully heal. She cried herself to sleep, the echoes of her sorrow filling the empty hangar. In the darkness of the night, Blue dreamed of her sisters, running through the jungle, hunting together, and sharing moments of joy and camaraderie. But when she awoke, she was still alone, the reality of her solitude crushing her once again. As the days passed, Blue continued to roam the jungle, haunted by memories of her lost family. She searched for them in vain, never giving up hope that one day she might be reunited with her sisters. But deep down, Blue knew the truth. Her sisters were gone, lost to her forever. And as she gazed out into the vast expanse of the jungle, she knew that she would always be alone, a solitary figure in a world that had once been filled with the sounds of her family. And so, Blue carried on, her heart heavy with grief but her spirit unbroken. She would always be the last of her kind, the sole survivor of a once proud and fearsome pack. But she vowed to honor the memory of her sisters, to carry their legacy with her wherever she went. And as she disappeared into the shadows of the jungle, Blue knew that she would always be a velociraptor, fierce and unyielding, a survivor against all odds. Blue, the female adult velociraptor from Jurassic World, found herself all alone in the jungle. She had been searching for her velociraptor sisters, Charlie, Echo, and Delta, but to no avail. She called out for them, but there was no response. As the day turned to night, Blue continued to search, her heart growing heavier with each passing moment. Suddenly, Blue stumbled upon the tail of the fearsome Spinosaurus. The massive predator began to chase her, but Blue used her speed and agility to evade her pursuer. She found refuge behind a rock, watching as the Spinosaurus searched for her before finally giving up and walking away. Blue emerged from her hiding spot, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. As she continued her search for her sisters, a deep sense of loneliness settled in her heart. Blue lay down on the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. Her reptilian eyes emitted tears as she curled up on the ground, grasping her own tail with her jaws. She called out for her sisters once more, but still, there was no response. Blue's sobs echoed through the jungle, a heartbreaking sound that seemed to pierce the silence of the night. Eventually, she made her way to a hangar and opened the door with her clawed arms. Inside, she found Owen, the man who had once cared for her. Without hesitation, Blue dashed towards Owen and hugged him tightly, crying into his chest. Owen could feel her pain, the deep sorrow that consumed her heart. He held her close, offering comfort and solace as she mourned the loss of her sisters. As the night wore on, Owen and Blue lay down in the hangar, finding warmth and solace in each other's presence. Blue's sobs gradually subsided, but the pain of her loss still lingered in her eyes. She had abandoned her search for her sisters, knowing deep down that they were gone forever. In her sleeping state, Blue found herself hugging her dinosaur romantic husband, Ripper the Indoraptor. The bond between them was strong, a source of comfort in the face of overwhelming grief. As the sun rose on a new day, Blue's heart remained heavy with loss, but she knew that she was not truly alone. She had Owen and Ripper by her side, ready to support her through the darkest of times. And as she looked out into the jungle, she knew that her sisters would always hold a special place in her heart, their memories living on in her forever. Words. 418. As Blue lay curled up on the ground, sobbing and feeling heartbroken, Owen approached her gently and said, "Blue, I know how much you miss your sisters, but you have to be strong. They would want you to keep moving forward, not give up like this." Blue looked up at Owen with tears streaming down her face and replied, "But Owen, they're gone. They left me all alone. I can't bear the thought of never seeing them again. It hurts so much." Owen knelt down beside her and placed a reassuring hand on her back. "I understand how you're feeling, Blue. But you have to remember that you're not truly alone. You have me, Ripper, and the rest of the team. We're here for you, no matter what." Blue sniffed and wiped her tears away, looking at Owen with gratitude in her eyes. "Thank you, Owen. I don't know what I would do without you all. I'll try to be strong, for your sake." Owen smiled and helped Blue to her feet, leading her towards the hangar where they would spend the night. As they settled down for some much-needed rest, Blue cuddled up to Ripper, feeling comforted by his presence. The next morning, Blue woke up feeling a little lighter in heart. She still missed her sisters terribly, but she knew she had to keep moving forward. She had a family in Owen, Ripper, and the rest of the team who cared for her deeply. As they prepared to head out into the jungle once again, Owen turned to Blue and said, "Let's continue our search for your sisters, Blue. We won't give up until we find them, I promise." Blue nodded, determination shining in her eyes. "Thank you, Owen. I won't give up either. I'll keep looking for them, no matter what it takes." And so, Blue and the team set out into the jungle once more, determined to find her missing sisters and bring them back home. With Owen by her side and Ripper's unwavering support, Blue knew she could face whatever challenges came her way. As they journeyed through the dense foliage of the jungle, facing dangerous predators and overcoming obstacles, Blue felt a sense of hope growing within her. She knew that as long as she had her family by her side, she could conquer any challenge that came her way. And in the end, after weeks of searching, Blue finally reunited with her sisters Charlie, Echo, and Delta. The joy and relief that washed over her were indescribable, tears of happiness streaming down her face as they all embraced each other tightly. Blue, we missed you so much, Charlie said, tears of joy in her eyes. We thought we'd never see you again. Blue hugged her sisters tightly, feeling complete once more. I missed you all too. I promise I'll never let you go again. We're a family, and nothing can tear us apart. And as they stood together, reunited once more, Blue knew that no matter what challenges they faced in the future, as long as they had each other, they could overcome anything. And so, they set out into the jungle once more, ready to face whatever adventures came their way, together as a united pack. Words. 544. The night was still and quiet as Blue lay curled up in the hangar, her breathing heavy and ragged from her tears. Owen sat beside her, his large hand resting gently on her back. Blue, I know you're hurting right now. But we'll find a way to move forward from this, Owen said softly, trying to comfort her. Blue looked up at him with her shimmering golden eyes, still filled with tears. But they're gone, Owen. My sisters, Charlie, Echo, and Delta, they're all gone. I can't find them anywhere, she said, her voice cracking with emotion. Owen sighed, his heart aching for the pain Blue was going through. I know, Blue. I know. But we can't give up hope. We'll keep searching. We'll find them, I promise, he said, trying to reassure her. Blue nodded slowly, her head still heavy with grief. She rested her head on Owen's shoulder, seeking comfort in his presence. She closed her eyes, willing herself to find some peace in the darkness that surrounded her. As Blue drifted off to sleep, Owen stayed by her side, his hand never leaving her back. He knew the road ahead would be a difficult one, filled with danger and uncertainty. But he also knew that with Blue by his side, they could face any challenge that came their way. The next morning, Blue woke up with a start, her heart pounding in her chest. She looked around frantically, trying to remember where she was. And then it all came flooding back to her, the loss of her sisters, the pain that gnawed at her heart. She got up slowly, her movements heavy with sorrow. Owen watched her, his eyes filled with concern. Blue, are you okay? He asked, his voice soft and gentle. Blue shook her head, her eyes still filled with tears. I don't know, Owen. I don't know how to go on without them. They were my family, my pack. And now they're gone, she said, her voice trembling with emotion. Owen reached out to her, his hand hesitating before touching her arm. Blue, we'll get through this together. We'll find a way to honor their memory, to keep them alive in our hearts, he said, his voice filled with determination. Blue looked at him, her eyes searching his face for hope. And in that moment, she found it. She found the strength to stand up, to face the day ahead with courage and resilience. Together, Blue and Owen set out to search for any signs of her sisters, determined not to give up until they found them. And as they journeyed through the jungle, facing danger and uncertainty at every turn, they found solace in each other's presence, in the bond that had grown between them. And though the road ahead was still long and treacherous, Blue knew that as long as she had Owen by her side, she could face whatever challenges came her way. She could move forward, carrying the memory of her sisters in her heart, always and forever. And together, they would honor their legacy, keeping their spirit alive in the wild and untamed world they called home. Words. 529. As Blue continued to grieve the loss of her velociraptor sisters, she also couldn't shake the memories of her parents and daughter who were taken from her as well. The weight of loneliness and heartache was more than she could bear as she lay curled up in the hangar with Owen and Ripper by her side, trying to offer comfort in their own ways. The next morning, Blue woke up with a determination in her eyes. She knew she couldn't stay in this state of despair any longer. She had to find a way to move forward, even if it meant doing it on her own. She stood up, wiped away her tears, and let out a resolute roar that echoed through the jungle. With a newfound sense of purpose, Blue set out on a journey to explore the vast jungle and discover new territories. She encountered all sorts of dinosaurs along the way, some friendly and some not so much. But she kept moving forward, determined to find a way to heal her broken heart. As she traveled, Blue began to uncover hidden secrets and mysteries of the jungle. She stumbled upon ancient ruins of a lost civilization, where she found artifacts and clues that led her to a long-forgotten temple deep in the heart of the jungle. The temple was filled with intricate carvings and symbols that seemed to tell a story of great power and ancient wisdom. Blue felt a surge of excitement as she explored the temple, uncovering hidden chambers and passageways that seemed to lead to a hidden treasure. But as she delved deeper into the temple, she began to sense a dark presence lurking within its walls. Shadows moved and whispered, and Blue could feel the hairs on her neck stand on end. With Ripper by her side, Blue pressed on, determined to uncover the secrets of the temple and perhaps find a way to mend her broken heart. But as they reached the inner sanctum of the temple, they were met with a chilling sight. A group of rogue velociraptors, led by a ruthless alpha male, stood in their way, ready to defend the temple and its secrets at all costs. A fierce battle ensued, with Blue and Ripper fighting tooth and claw against their adversaries. The echoes of roars and snarls filled the temple as the two sides clashed in a brutal showdown. But in the end, it was Blue's cunning and agility that prevailed, as she outsmarted the alpha male and his pack, sending them fleeing into the jungle. With the temple now in their hands, Blue and Ripper uncovered the true secret hidden within its walls. A mystical crystal that seemed to pulse with ancient energy, promising healing and renewal to those who held it. Blue grasped the crystal in her claws, feeling its power course through her veins, filling her with a sense of hope and renewal. As she emerged from the temple, a changed dinosaur, Blue knew that she had found a way to move forward from her past pain and loss. With Ripper by her side and the mystical crystal in her possession, she set out to explore the jungle once more, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead with courage and determination. And as she roared triumphantly into the jungle, her heart no longer weighed down by grief and loneliness, Blue knew that she was not alone. She had found new allies, new adventures, and a new purpose that would guide her on her journey through the thrilling and mysterious world of Jurassic World. Words. 598. As Blue lay curled up on the ground, sobbing and crying, Owen tried to console her. Owen, Blue, it's going to be okay. We'll find your sisters, I promise. Blue looked up at Owen with tear-filled eyes, a sense of hopelessness washing over her. Blue, no, Owen. They're gone. I can feel it in my bones. I'll never see them again. Owen knelt down beside her, gently placing a hand on her back. Owen, don't say that, Blue. We'll keep searching. We won't give up until we find them. But Blue shook her head, her sobs growing louder. Blue, they're gone, Owen. And it's all my fault. I shouldn't have let them out of my sight. I should have protected them. Owen, it's not your fault, Blue. You did everything you could. Sometimes things happen that are out of our control. Blue let out a gut-wrenching cry, the pain of losing her sisters hitting her like a tidal wave. Blue, I miss them, Owen. I miss them so much. It hurts. Owen wrapped his arms around Blue, offering her comfort and solace. Owen, I know, Blue. I know. But we'll get through this together. I promise. As Blue continued to mourn the loss of her sisters, Owen stayed by her side, providing her with the strength and support she needed to move forward. The next morning, Blue woke up from her restless sleep, her eyes red and puffy from a night of crying. Blue, thank you, Owen. For being here for me. I don't know what I would do without you. Owen smiled, his eyes full of compassion. Owen, you don't have to thank me, Blue. We're family. And family sticks together, no matter what. Blue nodded, a flicker of determination in her eyes. Blue, I won't give up, Owen. I'll keep searching for my sisters. I have to believe that they're out there somewhere, waiting for me. Owen placed a hand on her shoulder, his voice filled with conviction. Owen, and I'll be right there beside you, every step of the way. We'll find them, Blue. I promise. With renewed hope and a sense of purpose, Blue and Owen set out to continue their search for Charlie, Echo, and Delta, determined to reunite the velociraptor sisters once more. As they ventured deeper into the jungle, facing new challenges and obstacles along the way, Blue knew that with Owen by her side, anything was possible. And as the sun rose high in the sky, casting a warm glow over the land, Blue felt a glimmer of hope in her heart, knowing that no matter what trials lay ahead, she would never be alone again. For she had found a true companion in Owen, a friend who would always stand by her side, no matter what. Blue, the female adult velociraptor from Jurassic World, was on her own in the jungle, searching desperately for her velociraptor sisters Charlie, Echo, and Delta. She called out for them, but there was no response. She roamed aimlessly, the sun slowly setting as night fell upon the jungle. She continued her search, but her sisters were nowhere to be found. As she moved through the dense vegetation, Blue stumbled upon the tail of the fearsome Spinosaurus. The massive carnivore began to chase her, but Blue used her speed and agility to evade the predator. She managed to hide behind a large rock, staying out of sight until the Spinosaurus gave up and walked away. Alone and heartbroken, Blue lay on the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. Her reptilian eyes emitted tears as she curled up with her own tail in her jaws. She had lost her sisters, and the pain of their absence was almost unbearable. She let out a desperate call, but there was no response. Feeling defeated, Blue made her way to an abandoned hangar in the jungle. She opened the door with her clawed arms and found Owen, the trainer who had once cared for her. She rushed to him, hugging him tightly as she continued to cry. Owen comforted her, understanding her pain at the loss of her siblings. As they settled down to sleep in the hangar, Blue clung to Owen, still sobbing softly. The loss of her sisters weighed heavily on her heart, and she mourned their absence deeply. She also grieved for her velociraptor parents and daughter, feeling the pain of their loss as well. In her sleep, Blue hugged her Indoraptor husband, Ripper, tightly. Even in her dreams, she felt the ache of loneliness and heartbreak. The jungle was a dangerous place, and without her sisters, Blue felt vulnerable and alone. The next morning, Blue woke up with a sense of determination. She knew she couldn't give up on her search for her sisters, no matter how hopeless it seemed. With Owen by her side, she ventured back into the jungle, her resolve strengthened by the love and support of her human friend. As they searched, Blue and Owen faced many challenges and dangers. They encountered other dinosaurs, including the formidable T-Rex, but Blue's speed and agility helped them evade the predators. With Owen's guidance, Blue learned to navigate the jungle more effectively, using her sharp senses to track her sisters. After days of searching, Blue finally caught a glimpse of Charlie, Echo, and Delta in the distance. She let out a triumphant call, and her sisters responded, rushing to her side. The reunion was filled with joy and relief, as the velociraptors embraced each other, grateful to be reunited at last. With her sisters by her side once more, Blue felt whole again. She had faced her fears and battled her loneliness, emerging stronger and more determined than ever before. The bonds of sisterhood and friendship had carried her through the darkest of times, and she knew that as long as they were together, they could face anything that came their way. And so, Blue and her sisters roamed the jungle together, their loyalty and love for each other unbreakable and unwavering. Words. 539. Blue, frantically calling out Charlie. Echo. Delta. Where are you? Blue continued to move through the jungle, her sharp eyes scanning the area for any sign of her sisters. The sun was beginning to set, casting a golden glow over the trees. Blue, sighs, they have to be around here somewhere. As she continued to search, Blue stumbled upon the tail of the notorious Spinosaurus. The massive dinosaur roared and lunged towards her, causing Blue to sprint away with all her might. Her heart pounded in her chest as she dodged trees and rocks, desperately trying to outpace the Spinosaurus. Blue managed to find a hiding spot behind a large rock, holding her breath as the Spinosaurus sniffed around for her. Finally, the beast gave up and walked away, leaving Blue shaking with fear. Blue whispers to herself, I need to find my sisters. She emerged from her hiding place and continued her search, her determination unwavering. But as night fell, and the moon rose high in the sky, Blue's hope began to fade. Blue, voice cracking, where are you, Charlie? Echo. Delta. Why did you leave me? Her cries echoed through the jungle as she collapsed to the ground, tears streaming down her face. Blue clutched her own tail in anguish, feeling completely and utterly alone. Blue, sobbing, why did you leave me? What did I do wrong? She cried until her throat was raw, her reptilian eyes shimmering with unshed tears. Finally, she mustered the strength to get up and continue her search. Blue stumbled upon a hangar, its door ajar. She cautiously pushed it open with her clawed arms, only to find Owen inside. Without hesitation, she ran towards him and embraced him tightly, her body shaking with grief. Owen, softly, it's okay, Blue. I'm here for you. Blue buried her face in Owen's chest, her sobs muffled against his shirt. Owen gently stroked her scales, offering her comfort and solace in her time of need. Owen whispers, I'm here, Blue. You're not alone. Blue eventually succumbed to exhaustion, her tears spent. She lay down next to Owen, feeling a sense of peace wash over her. As she drifted off to sleep, she clung to him like a lifeline, knowing that she was not truly alone. The next morning, Blue awoke to find Ripper, her Indoraptor husband, curled up next to her. She nuzzled his snout affectionately, grateful for his presence. Together, they watched the sunrise, a silent understanding passing between them. Blue whispers, thank you, Ripper. Thank you for being here. Ripper nudges her gently, always, my love. Always. As the jungle came alive with the sounds of a new day, Blue felt a glimmer of hope in her heart. She knew that her sisters were gone, but she also knew that she was not truly alone. With Ripper by her side, she faced the future with renewed strength and determination, ready to take on whatever challenges came her way. And so, Blue continued to roam the jungle, her heart heavy with loss but also filled with love and hope. She had faced her darkest fears and come out stronger on the other side, ready to embrace whatever the future held for her. And as she looked up at the clear blue sky above, she knew that she would never give up on finding her sisters, no matter how long it took. For she was Blue, the last of her kind, and her spirit would never be broken. Words. 582. Blue, the female adult velociraptor from Jurassic World, found herself all alone in the dense jungle. She had been searching for her velociraptor sisters, Charlie, Echo, and Delta, for what seemed like hours, but to no avail. The sun started to set, casting an eerie glow over the jungle, but Blue refused to give up her search. As night fell, Blue's desperation grew. She called out for her sisters, hoping for a response, but all she heard was the rustling of leaves and the distant calls of other creatures in the darkness. Suddenly, Blue stumbled upon the tail of a massive Spinosaurus, which began to chase her relentlessly through the jungle. Using her speed and agility, Blue managed to evade the Spinosaurus and hide behind a large rock. She held her breath as the predator searched for her, its roars echoing through the night. Eventually, the Spinosaurus gave up and wandered off, leaving Blue trembling with fear and exhaustion. As she cautiously emerged from her hiding spot, Blue's heart sank. Her sisters were nowhere to be found. Overwhelmed with grief, she collapsed to the ground, her eyes filled with tears. Curling up in a ball, she clutched her own tail in despair, crying out in anguish. Unable to bear the pain of loss, Blue let out a mournful call, but there was no response. Her sisters were gone, leaving her alone in the darkness. Feeling completely abandoned, Blue made her way to a nearby hangar, where she sought refuge for the night. Inside the hangar, Blue encountered Owen, a familiar face from her past. She ran to him, seeking comfort and solace in his presence. Owen embraced her, feeling the weight of her sorrow as she sobbed uncontrollably. The two of them settled down for the night, with Blue still clinging to Owen for support. As she drifted off to sleep, Blue's dreams were haunted by memories of her lost family, her velociraptor mother, father, daughter, and now her sisters. She held onto her dinosaur husband, Ripper the Indoraptor, tightly, seeking solace in the familiarity of his presence. The next morning, Blue awoke with a heavy heart. The reality of her loneliness weighed down on her, but she knew she had to find a way to move forward. With Owen by her side, she made a decision to honor the memories of her sisters and carry on their legacy. Though the pain of loss still lingered, Blue found strength in the bonds she formed with Owen and Ripper. Together, they embarked on a new journey, determined to create a future filled with hope and unity. And as they ventured into the unknown, Blue knew that she would always carry her sisters in her heart, their spirits guiding her through the darkness. Words. 464. Blue sighed heavily as she continued to search the jungle for her velociraptor sisters. Charlie. Echo. Delta. She called out, her voice echoing through the trees. But there was no response. She moved quickly through the dense foliage, her keen eyes scanning the area for any sign of her sisters. As the sun began to set, she felt a sense of urgency growing within her. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Suddenly, she stumbled upon the tail of a massive Spinosaurus. She let out a gasp as the giant predator turned towards her, its eyes filled with hunger. Blue immediately sprang into action, using her speed and agility to dodge the Spinosaurus' massive claws. She managed to hide behind a large rock, staying out of sight as the Spinosaurus searched for her. After what felt like an eternity, the predator gave up and moved on, leaving Blue alone once again. Feeling defeated, Blue curled up on the ground, tears streaming down her reptilian cheeks. She sobbed uncontrollably, the pain of being separated from her sisters overwhelming her. She gripped her own tail in her jaws, the weight of her loneliness crushing her soul. As the night settled in, Blue felt a sense of hopelessness wash over her. She called out for her sisters one last time, but there was no response. They were gone, leaving her all alone in the jungle. With a heavy heart, Blue made her way to a nearby hangar, desperate for shelter. She used her clawed arms to open the door and found herself face to face with Owen, the man who had cared for her and her sisters. Without hesitation, she ran towards him and embraced him tightly, her tears soaking his shirt. Owen held her close, his heart breaking for the sorrowful creature in his arms. "It's okay, Blue. I'm here for you," he whispered, soothing her with his words. Blue clung to him, finding solace in his comforting presence. As they settled down for the night in the hangar, Blue finally let go of her desperate search for her sisters. She knew deep down that they were gone, lost to her forever. She cuddled up to Ripper, her Indoraptor husband, seeking comfort in his warmth. As she drifted off to sleep, she whispered a silent prayer for her lost family, the tears still falling from her eyes. In the darkness of the night, Blue mourned the loss of her sisters, her heart heavy with grief. She knew that she would never be the same without them, but she also knew that she had to find a way to carry on. And so, as the sun rose once again over the jungle, Blue vowed to honor the memory of her sisters by living her life to the fullest. She would never forget them, but she would also never let their loss consume her. With Owen and Ripper by her side, Blue set out into the jungle once more, determined to face whatever challenges came her way. She may have been alone now, but she was still a fierce and loyal velociraptor, ready to take on whatever the world had in store for her. Words. 532.